Throughout time, roller coasters have come and gone. Only some become legends for their intensity and thrills. Each and every year, coaster fans like you venture to the parks, searching for that one special ride that stands out above the rest. You submitted your rankings, and now it's time to reveal the group of elite roller coasters that you have voted as the best of the best. COASTER-net Uncut is proud to present the 2020 Thrilling 32.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time is finally here. Tonight, we find out who our wood champion is, who our steel champion is. Danny, this is the finals of the Thrilling 32 2020 edition. This is it. Finally, after all the talk, all the hype, all the bullshit, we are finally here. We're finding out the champs. Tonight is the night, Danny. What's your thoughts?
I'm really excited, for a couple of reasons, right? First of all, we find out who the wood and steel champions are tonight, and we left everyone with a little bit of a twist in the storyline last week when we left our steel brackets, because a lot of people talking about the surprise of Untamed being in the steel championship, knocking off Expedition G-Force. Not many people had it picked. Not many people expecting it. A lot of people not even having Untamed through the first round past Intimidator 305, a former champion. But here it is, one step away from knocking off Steel Vengeance from Cedar Point. If you would have told a lot of people 6 weeks ago, after the selection show and people started filling out brackets, if you would have said Untamed is going to go up against Steel Vengeance for the championship, a lot of people would have called you crazy. But here we are.
Crazy, Danny. Insane.
That's right. So we're going to find out who the winners are in both brackets. We're going to find out who the contest winner is. We've got a lot of well-known people in the top 10, top 15. So we'll see who's going to actually win the contest. And then, of course, the best part about this show is not finding out the winners, is not finding out the contest winners, but seeing those top 50 lists for the wood and steel coasters. We talk about how there's a lot of tough matchups in those early rounds, rides like Outlaw Run, Boulder Dash being knocked out very early on the wood side. On the steel side, you have rides like Phantom's Revenge going out. We had a ride like Smiler get knocked out in the first round this year. So tonight, we actually find out where all those rides ranked relative to one another. We'll get to see if our championship matchups are truly 1-2 matchups this year, or if we've got maybe some 1-3s, 1-4s, depending on how the matchups worked out. So we're going to find all of that out here tonight. But we have to crown our champions. We have to decide, or at least find out, who is going to be placed on the belt, or if they stay on the belt, because Andy, our defending champions are both still in it.
Well, that is the big question right now. Are there new plates on the belt? Will new champions be crowned? Both champions still in it. First time ever, possibly, that we see a repeat of both champions in both wood and steel. Would be the first time ever in tournament history. Danny, I got news for you. The belt right now, just like the Stanley Cup, it's got a special handler. It's being primed. It's being buffed out. It's with the people right now in the back. It's being taken care of because it's ready to be unveiled. Somebody back there already knows who wins. I think you know who wins too. But somebody back there already knows who wins because they see the belt. It's got new plates on it, or it's got old plates on it that they had to buff out. So I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but the belt will make an appearance here this evening at some point, but not until the champion has been crowned. So, or really before both champions have been crowned, because we don't want to spoil anything. Makes sense, right? We're not idiots here.
No, we're not idiots here. I mean, that's why we've been doing the show for a while. I don't know, maybe we are idiots. I don't know.
There's evidence on both sides, Danny, of that argument.
There definitely is. I think more on the side of not idiots, if I were to comment myself. But I don't know. We'll see. So Andy, I've sort of been stalling a little bit here because there's some very interesting things that are going to happen over the course of the next several minutes, and some very fun information that I'm going to reveal to you. So shall we start with our Wood Championship matchup?
Well, that's the place we usually start, so let's do
Yes.
so.
All right. Now I'm gonna lead into this discussion with some facts. I'm gonna lay some facts and statistics on you, Andy.
Ooh.
In 2012, Boulder Dash was the champion at 95.14%. Voyage was number 2 at 93.62. A considerable margin of victory. You may already know where I'm going with this. 2013 Outlaw Run knocked off Voyage as the 1-2 there. 96.02. Voyage had 94.91. Again, a very considerable margin of victory. Then in 2014, Voyage beat Outlaw Run. It was a little closer, 97.59 to 97.10. So that margin of victory was even closer. In 2015, Outlaw Run took it back, 96.71 to 96.51. 0.2% of separation. All right, I'm building to this. 2016 Lightning Rod 96.71, Voyage 96.15, about half a percentage point. Then in 2017 we had our closest to date. It was Voyage at 95.54, El Toro at 95.45, 0.09%. And then last year in 2018, Voyage 97.51 to Lightning Rod's 96.92, a little over a half a percentage point. So we've had some Wood champions in the past that have won with in pretty resounding fashion, and we've had some that have been very, very close. But Andy, this year was by far the closest of any year in Thrilling 32 history. The champion, 97.18%. The second place coaster, 97.14%. Less than half of the closest championship that we've ever seen. And this year it was between Voyage and Outlaw Run. The previous closest was between Voyage and El Toro. Did I say Outlaw Run? I meant Lightning Rod. I think
Wishful thinking.
right. So this year between Voyage and Lightning Rod and Voyage, 0.04% separating the top two coasters. And the third place coaster, 94.51. So the top two coasters ran away with it this year and battled it out until the very last vote, until the very last ballot came in. Does that perhaps sway your thoughts? Because last week you were pretty confident that it was Voyage coming out on top. Does that now? This is exactly what happened when Expedition G-Force beat Fury a couple of years ago, when it was the closest finish in Thrilling 32 history. What are your thoughts now that I've revealed that information to you?
My first thought is people are idiots. So that's thought one. We can start there. Because if I'm objectively ranking, there's no ranking system in the world where I think Voyage is a worse ride than Lightning Rod. Mm-hmm. That being said, okay, that's my personal opinion. That's my opinion. You know, we all got opinions, whatever. Apparently, you can't question people's opinions, so don't bother. But I can't think of a single ranking system that Voyage is worse off than Lightning Rod. Okay, besides what ride is worse than Voyage would be worse than Lightning. Okay, you get the idea. So that being said, Danny, I do think that there is a little bit concern here.
Let me put this in perspective now, because I just went to that 2016 Steel statistic. Expedition G-Force was at 98.71. Fury was at 98.67. So the same 0.04% that we're talking about right now for the 2019 Wood is the same thing we were talking about a few years ago, when I remember the look on your face when you had heard that Expedition G-Force had beaten Fury.
Might be the same look you see here this evening. I struggle to talk about this because I struggle to wrap my brain around it. But I think you are correct in saying that if a reigning champion is to be knocked off, and Voyage has been, by all accounts, dominant. We've laid this out for the entire 4 weeks or 5 weeks or how many weeks we've been doing this. We've laid out how dominant Voyage has been the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was to be knocked off, I think it would have to be in this manner. I don't know. I don't know. I can't bring myself to say. I can't bring myself to say, Danny Miller, that Lightning Rod is better than Voyage. I just can't do it. So, no.
Well, I agree with everything that you've said there. In no world, in my opinion.
Maybe. Hold on. Lightning Rod has a better logo than Voyage. There, we found.
Is that what it is? Is that what we're going with?
I don't know. It has a better logo. That's all I know. Lightning Rod's logo is better than Voyage's logo. Voyage's logo has always been a little ho-hum to me.
Yeah, it's just kind of in there, right?
Well, in like the text, if I'm looking at the screen here, the text, looks like a boat. It's got the sails, and the Voyage text is the boat with the G. I don't know. It's Lightning Rod's better. So there you go. I stand corrected. I have found one metric where Lightning Rod is better than Voyage.
It breaks down more.
That's for sure. I can't go by color because they're both roughly the same color. Voyage has nice flags on it, so that wins.
Yeah. I mean, the Lightning Rod trains were pretty cool when it first opened, and then they've sort of been neutered.
The Q line is better on Lightning Rod. The Q line's better, I think. It has more things going on.
A lot of people don't rank their coasters based on those sort of things, right?
You'd be surprised, Danny.
Well.
Time out!
I know exactly where we're going with this. We're not going to get into it.
That's how you ranked in the entire continent of Europe.
That's right. Exactly. Forget the roller coasters. It's all about them queue lines.
Oh my God. I feel like I've wasted that 16 hours now.
I resent that statement, actually, because you cannot convince me of ranking rides on queue lines because you know as well as anyone that I don't stand in queue lines.
Well,
I don't do lines.
16 hours about queue lines.
I don't
look
do
at this
lines.
queue line for Bluefire and for Plugged Damon and for...
All right, these people probably want to know who the hell is our number one wood coaster this year. Andy, in the closest championship match we have ever had in the wood bracket in Thrilling 32 history, your 2019 number one wood coaster is the Voyage from Holiday World in Santa Claus, and Lightning Rod was a very, very close second.
Oh, my goodness. Well, at least I can say that the voters got that right.
They got that one right.
So, I don't know, Danny.
I think you were sweating a little bit over there.
Well, there's still some question marks there about why Lightning Rod's so high, but I guess you have to say the voters got it right. So that's we just have to move on and say that Voyage still the superior roller coaster. Was it three-peat?
Three-peat. First ever ride to win 3 times in a row.
Are you gonna start chanting Dynasty or something? I don't know. I don't know at this point. It's a Chicago Blackhawks like performance. Not a Chicago Bulls-like performance yet. Not yet.
No, not yet.
But definitely a Blackhawks-like performance here. It's the better ride. It's one of the best coasters in the world. Steel, wood, put it all aside, is one of the best roller coasters in the world. One of the best. One of the 2 best. Steel Vengeance, still better in my opinion. But I guess that's where we're going next, right? Steel Vengeance.
Let's move on to the steel coasters here. Now, Andy, I've got another interesting fact, and it doesn't even involve the 2 coasters in our championship here. But I'm going to sort of lead you to into something that you sort of talked about last week. We talked about the very strong possibility that Steel Vengeance versus Fury in the semifinals was actually our number 1-2 matchup around early, and that perhaps Untamed is somewhere in the 3 to 5 range and maybe was a benefactor of the region that it was in. So I'm going to give you a few numbers to crunch here. Numbers on Fury since it's open. In 2015 was the champion at 98.84. In 2016 was beaten by Expedition G-Force, but had 98.67 as the runner-up. In 2017 as the champion was 98.72. Last year as the runner-up, 98.63. This year, 2019, Fury 325 finished at 98.62. Essentially the same exact number as it had last year as the number 2 coaster. So knowing that, are you more or less confident in your statement last week that you believe Steel Vengeance and Fury was the number 1-2 matchup?
I don't know. I feel like you're trying to trick me here, Danny Miller.
No, I'm just curious.
Because you're a very duplicitous person. I've known that for a while. I feel like you're trying to lead me down a path to make me say, like I did last week, because I did say it already, I thought Fury was number 2. Based on those numbers, I would suspect nothing has changed, but you're giving me pause just by bringing it up again.
No, but I think it's interesting because Fury has always been in the championship since it's open. This is the first time it is not in the championship since it has opened. So I think it's interesting to look at the fact that its percentage has essentially not changed from last year.
So what you're saying here essentially is that either Untamed is number 2 or Danny Miller screwed Fury. That's what you're saying. And
honestly,
you are well known amongst the multiverse of being Mr. I Screw Roller Coaster. So that we know that already.
And would it not make sense? Would it
over there
not,
in the corner? I still got the sign that says Danny Miller screwed Rabbit.
would it not make sense that I would screw a ride like Fury 4 in favor of a ride from Europe that was a milestone coaster for yours truly? Yeah. Does that not make sense at all?
That sounds completely out of character for what Danny Miller.
It doesn't it? I would never do such a thing, no, Mr.
Never do such a thing like that. Oh, nonsense to even suggest such a thing.
Well, Andy, before I tell you who the champion was, I will tell you that these 2 rides in the finalists are the number 1 and the number 2 coaster.
So you're telling me, to clarify, so my ears did not deceive me. You're telling me that Steel Vengeance or Untamed is 1 or number 2.
I am telling you that, but yes, between the 2 rides that are remaining, Steel Vengeance and Untamed, one of them is our number 1 coaster and one of them is our number 2 coaster. So
you're also telling me that Fury is not number 1 or number 2.
That is correct.
Okay.
You are very good at the process of elimination.
Well, you could be a detective, Danny. I really could be.
You really could.
Right? I'm on top of facts and logic.
I'm sure they need lots of those in Chicago, so you definitely should sign up for that.
They do. So now we're at the conundrum here.
Are we ever?
We are at the conundrum of.
Now that we know that, we are here. We are here.
We are most definitely here.
Because you, more than anyone, have been defending Untamed all the way through this about the rides in their first year tend to do it. Historically, rides have won this tournament in their opening year. Steel Vengeance did it. Fury 325 did it. Outlaw Run did it. Lightning Rod did it. All those rides have won in their opening year. And, we don't know about Steel Vengeance yet, but the one thing that those others had in common, and I mentioned this last week, Outlaw Run, Fury, and Lightning Rod, the first 3 rides that won in their opening year, none of them won in their second year.
Well, Danny, as I said last week, that this poll can either be right or it can be wrong.
Well, but you know what? If Untamed wins, then it's half right, half wrong.
True. So we are on the precipice of being all right, and we're on the precipice of being half wrong. So there's something to be said there. Okay. I once again, I'm in the same boat as I was with Voyage and Lightning Rod. We go back to the same discussion again, Danny. We're just going to substitute new words. So in no world can I find an area where Steel Vengeance is worse than Untamed. Not even in logo here. Okay, in logo, I think Steel Vengeance probably has the better of the 2 logos. I like the steel on top, the wood on the bottom. It's really cool. Better than Untamed. Untamed, I don't even understand what. It's just metal with like a laser beam going through it. Whatever.
Yeah, it's like metal being cut, and it's got like the rustic, foresty type.
Now Q line Steel Vengeance is a pretty cool Q line. You don't stand in it like you said, but they got some signs up with stories. They got some crystal rock bottles. They got a little bit of theming. What does Untamed got?
Untamed has some light theming, as if you're out in an abandoned forest. And actually, in the middle of the queue, they have an old piece. They took an old section of the wood coaster, Robin Hood, that used to be there, and it's in the middle of the queue in sort of a courtyard area, and it's got one of the old wood coaster ride vehicles sitting on it. So that's kind of cool. They actually have a piece of the old ride sitting there in the queue. And it's like overgrown as if it's being taken over. So that's
maybe the Q line's better on Untamed. So maybe that's the one metric that we found. And we know that that's how you rank rides. So that's obviously.
And honestly, the Untamed train is pretty cool too, because it's like the Firefly looking thing, but on the side it's got the mosaic glass, which is actually like mirrors. So it's very reflective and very cool.
And we've already been down the road of the Steel Vengeance train not being all that impressive.
And the other thing I'll say is the station is like being overgrown with vines, and it's got the lights that flicker and everything, similar to Thunderbird when the train dispatches, and it's like a tribal beat. With tribal drum beats as you leave the station. I mean, in terms of the theme, Untamed's got a little bit going on.
But when the train leaves the station for Steel Vengeance, they got blackjack, chess, or...
That is true.
What's the last guy's name?
Digger.
Digger.
Yes.
So we're back to the same position, though, Danny. So just as we came, we went down this road with Voyage and Lightning Rod. We eventually come back to the same position of Steel Vengeance is the correct answer. It's the correct answer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love Untamed. Milestone Coaster absolutely blew me away. Steel Vengeance, in my opinion.
Did you get percentages here? Are there any numbers I should know? What's the differential separating these 2 rides? That's what I want.
It is very close. It is very close. Here's this. I'll lead into announcing our champion with this. Last year, Steel Vengeance had the highest percentage of any ride, wood or steel, in Thrilling 32 history at 99.72. And if you sort of understand the formula we use to calculate these percentages, I said it last year, you would realize how impossible a number like that is to achieve. That's how resounding of a champion Steel Vengeance was last year at 99.72. This year, our champion has outdone that at 99.73. And the runner-up, the 3rd highest of all time at 99.62. So Steel Vengeance's number last year, 99.72. This year's champion, 99.73. This year's runner-up, 99.62. And the champion this year, the 2019 #1 steel coaster from the Ride Warrior Choice Awards, and the champion of the Thrilling 32 is Steel Vengeance from Cedar Point. Steel Vengeance outdoes itself.
You're right, baby!
So Steel Vengeance, as impossible a number as 99.72 was last year, it did one better this year at 99.73, even a more resounding champion, an Untamed, a very respectable and a very close second place finish this year. Those are your number 1, 2.
That is absolutely outstanding. A good showing for Untamed. A very good showing.
Oh, are you kidding me? Absolutely unbelievable. And I'll tell you and I'll tell you what. Untamed isn't my number 2 coaster. It's in my top 5, but for the sheer and I've been saying this for quite some time. Untamed is literally
I've been saying this for years.
That's right. It hasn't even been open a year, and I've been saying this for years. So I've been describing Untamed to people as imagine Steel Vengeance, but half the size. Okay, you got that in your head? That's it. That's what it is. It's Steel Vengeance, but it's half the size. So it would stand to reason that it's not better than Steel Vengeance. Steel Vengeance is taller, it's faster, it's longer, it's got a little bit more to it, but Untamed is as good of a ride as you could possibly put into a 115, 120 foot tall coaster. I do not think that Untamed could be any better than it already is. And we say the same thing about Steel Vengeance. There's not a single spot on Steel Vengeance where I say to myself, boy, that part could have been something better. Yeah. And that is one of the things that I got off of Untamed, saying the same thing and looking at Adam and looking at Sue and talking to the other people who wrote Untamed during different parts of the trip. None of us came up with a spot on Untamed where we said, well, I wish they would have done that instead. And there are very, very few coasters on this earth that I have ridden that I can say that about. And Steel Vengeance and Untamed are 2 of them.
Absolutely. There's no question that. And, I haven't ridden Untamed, but Steel Vengeance, no question in my mind, that is by far the greatest roller coaster to ever be built on the planet Earth. But Danny, it's time, right? It's time. The keeper of the belt is here. He's here. Mr. Arthur Poor, welcome. Thank you. A round of applause for Arthur Poor. He is right here, and he has given me the belt of belts. Thank you, Arthur. You may go back to being keeper of the belt for the next calendar year. But there it is, Danny Miller, the keeper of the belt, hand-delivered it to me. Arthur Poor, there it is. The plates stay the same. They do not change. And the belt, the champ is there. The champ is still here. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Nobody beat the man this year. And so we got Steel Vengeance and Voyage still reigning supreme on the belt. And, of course, thank you. Thanks to Mr. Arthur Poor for shining it up.
Go back to digging up dinosaur bones.
Yeah, that's what he does best.
So there we go. So Steel Vengeance and Voyage are champions once again. Andy, thrilling 32 history tonight. Voyage, the first ever 3-time three-peat, if you will. Steel Vengeance becoming the first ride to win in its first 2 years consecutively. Steel Vengeance also the first repeat champion on the steel side of things. And the first time ever that we've had a repeat of both champions in back-to-back years. So a lot of firsts here this evening.
We've also got the lovely, I forgot to mention, we've also got the lovely framed print as well.
Yes. Yes, we do.
The lovely thrilling 32 belt with Voyage. That will be up back there on the wall at some point.
That's right. Valid for another year. So, Andy, we have one more champion to talk about.
We do.
We've got a champion from our contest. And last week, our leader in the clubhouse was Mr. Michael White. He had Steel Vengeance. Everybody in the top cluster had Steel Vengeance as their steel champions. Not really a surprise. So it's down to the wood side. Michael had Lightning Rod as his wood champion. So now we look down at second place, which is Mark Kevin Omlor, and he had Voyage as his wood champion. So congratulations to our champion from Germany.
Oh,
Mr. Mark Kevin Omlor, picking Steel Vengeance over Untamed in the championship.
Wow.
Picking Untamed over Expedition G-Force in the Final Four. So with 164 points, tying Jackson Miller's high score from last year, not surpassing, but tying it, Mark Kevin Omlor. So we will be sending you an email. So if you're watching the show, please please check your email because we will shortly after the show airs, we will be sending you an email to get in contact with you for you to claim your prize. So certainly be checking your email in the coming days. Let's talk about second place.
Hey, well, don't email us. We'll email you.
We'll email you. Don't call us. We'll call you. Because there are certain gentlemen in the past that felt the need to email us, and that did not end too well. You can ask him about it because I'm sure he's in the comments. But anyways, Andy, we've got an interesting phenomenon that has taken place in the top 3 as well. First, second, and third place, all with 57 picks correct.
Oh.
Our winner with 164 points, tied for second. My mom, Becky Miller,
Ridiculous.
and one Rob Dole.
No.
One Rob Dole. Now, Andy.
No.
Andy.
Don't, Danny. Tell me isn't so. Tell me that him picking Maverick did not cost him this game.
Andy, Rob Dole picking against Maverick. Picking against Maverick is what did him in. Because I'm looking at the tiebreakers, Andy, because if he would have picked Maverick, he had 6 out of 8 right in that second round of steel. So he would have had 7. He would have gotten 2 more points. So 164, but it would have been an extra pick. And the first tiebreaker is not the tiebreaker question. It is number of picks correct. So he would have had 58 right. The winner would have had 57. Rob Dole would be our champion tonight if he would have picked Maverick in the second round. Andy, that to me is instant Tournament of Terrible nomination. Losing to Thrilling 32 because you did not pick your favorite ride to win a matchup.
I got news for you. Someone needs to call up Rob Dole right now and put him on a good friend's watch, a good neighbor's watch. I am concerned for his safety, for his well-being. So, Rob,
Andy?
Rob, it's only a game, Rob. It's only a game. It doesn't matter.
But Andy, 5 weeks ago in our group chat, when bracket submissions closed, I texted the group and I said, Rob, your bracket is going to be a Tournament of Terrible nomination. And he just assumed it was because it was so bad. But no, it's because it was so good.
No.
And the only thing keeping him from finally winning this tournament, all the time and effort he puts into picking the brackets, was the fact that he picked against Maverick in the second round. Against a ride that has no business being in the same discussion with him.
Danny, there are no words.
You couldn't write a script better than this.
Danny, I would think that you rigged this for this to happen, but I know that there's no possible way that you could have done that.
I couldn't in my wildest dreams make up something this fantastic.
No, that's amazing and disgusting and terrible and outstanding and distasteful all at the same time. All at the same time, Danny. It's all of those things, which is just outstanding. Wow. Congrats to our winner. Great job. Great job.
Yeah. And seriously, congratulations to Rob. A great year. Congratulations to my mom. Second place for sure. Fourth place with 161, Brad Dugan, Sam Weaver in fifth with 159, Jeff Goodman, Water Parker, Drew Fisher, all with 157, Toby Palmer, 156, and Brendan Craven with 154, rounding out the top 10. Andy with 153 and only 51 picks correct. You're finishing at a cool 13th. Very nice showing.
Yeah. And for not knowing wood coasters, that's outstanding.
Well, seriously, Adam the Beard Man coming in 19th, and that's pretty good considering he actually picked against Untamed in that first round. So had that one wrong all the way through. Would have had a shot had he had Untamed going in a few rounds. Let's see, who else are we interested in? So Michael White, who was our leader last week, ends up in 22nd. The highest ranked finisher who did not have both champions correct. So everybody 21st and above had both champions correct. Brad Crow finishing 26th. Alex Polk, 28th. And Rob Polk, 49th. So
there you go.
Let's see, defending champion Jackson Miller, respectable finish at 30th. Let's see, who else are we interested in? Mike Flynn, 42nd.
How about Brian Bass? Brian Bass.
Ted Adams, 51st. Let's see, keep going down here. The impartial Brian Bass sort of weaseled his way up the standings throughout, finishing in 63rd in the middle of the pack there. Not good, not terrible, but not good. Let's see, what else do we have? My dad finishing in 90th place, and Aunt Sue moving up to 92nd. So Aunt Sue finishing in the top 100 this year. Alex Baker finishing in 71st. Kyle Posey finishing in 85th. Let's see. I think that's most of our diehard fans here.
Evan?
Oh, Evan, yes. Hold on. I'm going to search for the name. Evan Hunter, 99th.
Okay.
Who else do we have? Stephen Lynn, 121st.
He was talking on the CP Unlimited show the other night about how he did not feel well about his picks, and
he had Lightning Rod as his wood champion, so that's certainly
that's a death knell there. So Danny, I think it's time. It's time to reveal.
Yes.
The top 50s. Let's get to it here.
That's right. Let's get into it here. So one thing that we have done this year, we're not going to go through the percentages on the top 50 list because we get too bogged down. We already got bogged down in stats tonight, so we'll save you from that. So let's talk about the wood coasters first. At number 50 was the Wooden Warrior at Quasi. Number 49 was the Comet from Great Escape. Number 48, Apocalypse the Ride from Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Really?
Yeah. 47, Kentucky Rumbler from Beach Bend. 46, Twister from Knoebels. 45, Megaphobia from Oakwood Theme Park in Wales. Number 44, Lightning Racer from Hershey Park. Number 43, Grand National from Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Number 42, Tonnerre des Zeus from Parc Asterix in France. Number 41, White Lightning from Fun Spot America in Orlando. Shall we keep moving on to the next group? Number 40, American Thunder from Six Flags St. Louis. Number 39, Wood Express from Park St. Paul, I believe. I have to double check that. That's one of those little Gravity Group wood coasters. We see a little pocket of the Gravity Group coasters right here with Wood Express. Then we've got 38, Switchback from ZDTs. 37 is Twister from Grönelund in Sweden. Number 36 is Oscar's Wacky Taxi, a thrilling 32 ride last year. Number 35, Rorosaurus from Storyland in New Hampshire. So we got a little pocket of 5 rides in a row that are all those little Gravity Group rides, and Wooden Warrior was not far behind it. Number 34, the Cornball Express from Indiana Beach, which we just learned a week or two ago. Maybe no more, it seems. No more rides for the Cornball Express, it would seem. Certainly one of my favorite rides there. Would be a shame to see the Cornball Express go for good. And the first ride out this year, at number 33, is the Raven from Holiday World. Thoughts on that?
No, a good smattering of rides there. I don't think there's anything exceptionally, outstandingly surprising.
I don't think so.
Some of your traditional 32, American Thunder, a little bit lower,
Cornball has been in before. Oscar's Wacky Taxi was in last year. We've seen the Comet in Kentucky Rumbler. We've seen those rides in here and there. But generally, I don't think there's anything too surprising here.
No.
Number 32, the first ride in was the Coney Island Cyclone. I don't think that's the first time in history that the Coney Island Cyclone has been number 32, the magic number before. How about this? The Beast at Kings Island is your number 31 ride this year. Quite a drop-off for the Beast this year.
The Beast is on that dangerous precipice of not being...
Beast is in Storm Chaser territory right now.
I'll tell you what, and that would be a great day in my life, Danny.
Where you don't have to talk about it at all.
Let's make it happen, people.
Let's move on here to the next group of 10. At number 30 is Tremors from Silverwood Theme Park in Idaho. Number 29 is Prowler from Worlds of Fun. Prowler, way too low in my opinion. A ride that has, for some reason, just never gotten the love in this poll. Number 28 is Mind Blower from Fun Spot Kissimmee. In Florida, number 27 is where we see Q Cullen come in from Tato Park in Ireland. Number 26, Legend from Holiday World. Number 25 is the spot where we see Wicker Man from Alton Towers, a good showing for the Wicker Man. Number 24, Boardwalk Bullet from Kima Boardwalk in Texas. Number 23, Thunderhead from Dollywood. Number 22, Joris Endedrock from Efteling, a tough first-round matchup, but quite a strong showing there for Joris Endedrock, and really its first year to have a valid ranking. So good to see Joris and the Drock scoring pretty well here. And number 21, Shivering Timbers from Michigan's Adventure, a fine ride that we don't really talk about enough.
One that gave me a little pause and hurt my rankings overall in the first round. Maybe why I came in 13th. One of the reasons why. Some thoughts here. Mind Blower. I'm really surprised that that's one that's hung on. I'm not.
Well, and it wasn't in its first year, which makes it even more odd that it's been in the last couple.
Yeah, that's one. Mind Blower is one that I'm really surprised by. Nothing else nothing else really jumping off the page here is like, oh my goodness.
No, definitely. So now as we get to the 11 through 20, we're going to see a few interesting things here that are going to be surprising. So at number 20, we see Colossus from Hyde Park in Germany, which is quite a bit of a jump from its last valid ranking, which I think was in the 30s. Then at number 19, we see Hades 360 coming in from Mount Olympus Theme Park. Number 18 is Ravine Flyer 2 from Waldameer. Number 17, Ghost Rider from Knott's Berry Farm, right around the same spot it was last year. No. People need to go out and ride Ghost Rider since that retrack, because it's come back up a little bit in the last couple of years, but that is still not high enough.
That's ridiculous. There's no way that Ghost Rider should be in that group.
No, I agree 100%. Number 16 is Balder from Liseberg in Sweden. A little bit of a drop-off from last year. Was right there in the top 10 last year, so a little bit of a drop-off for Balder. Number 15 is Goliath from Six Flags Great America. Number 14, Renegade from Valley Fair. A nice jump up to number 14. Renegade, a very strong showing this year for sure. It lost in the first round, but we talked about it would be interesting to see the effects of our big Europe trip. Vodon Timber Coaster jumping all the way up to number 13. It was in the mid-20s last year. Very, very good year for Vodon Timber Coaster coming in at number 13. Just a victim of a bad first-round matchup in the brackets this year. And Andy, these last two are very interesting because last year Rampage was number 11 and Mystic Timbers was number 12. And this year Rampage is number 11 and Mystic Timbers is number 12. Those two rides exactly the same as they were last year. And if you would have gone off of that, you would have had that pick right in the first round.
Yeah, and that was a tough pick too. That was a real tough pick.
That's as tough as it gets right there. A couple of rides that we haven't seen yet. How about this? Coming in at number 10, Troy from Tourland. A big jump. A lot of people liking Troy a lot, especially on our trip, I would think. And I thought Wodan Timber Coaster was the slightly better ride. So I'm a little surprised to see Troy find its way into the top 10. This year. At number 9, we've got the Phoenix from Knoebels Amusement Resort hanging in there.
I think that's too low too for Phoenix.
I agree.
Not just because I picked it.
No, but Phoenix should be like 5 or 6 at the lowest for me. At number 8, Gold Striker from California's Great America, going up a spot, actually, believe it or not. I think it was number 9 last year, so Gold Striker hanging in there. Number 7 is where we see the Coaster from P&E Playland, so that Coaster-Phoenix matchup was definitely a very close one. Number 6, we see Wildfire from Colmartin, so a little bit of a drop-off from last year, but not much. Boulder Dash from Lake Compounds coming in at number 5. El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure, number 4. Look at this, Andy. Outlaw Run, Silver Dollar City, back up to number 3.
Wow.
How about that?
That is something that El Toro that's been so solid over the years, that Outlaw Run is back to number 3. And we kind of suspected that Outlaw Run might see a little bit of a jump here. And look at that right there.
We did. Outlaw Run a couple years ago was number 8, and then last year I think it was back up to number 5. This may be the time traveler effect here. Outlaw Run back up to number 3 on the Wood Coaster list. That is great.
And it helps that it runs consistently.
Well, I think that's a very good point. And if we look at the numbers, we talked about 97.18 for Voyage, 97.18 for Lightning Rod, Outlaw Run at 94.51. So there is a considerable gap between number 2 and 3 here. But number 2, Lightning Rod, and of course number 1, our champion once again, the Voyage at Holiday World. There's not a Ghost Rider, Prowler, maybe Phoenix being a little too low, but generally there's not a whole lot I don't like about that top 50 Wood list. I think it's a very solid list and very respectable for the most part.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right about that. You look at the list and things, for the most part, I still think things are overranked here. Things like Boulder Dash and Thunderhead and Beast and there's that legacy effect to people's rankings, I think. There's some things I personally would question, but it's interesting to see some of the things that we talked about with trends and how things might jump up or down actually coming to pass here.
Yeah. No, I think there's certainly a lot to look at from a historical standpoint that we've been talking about for a few years. Shall we jump into the top 50 steel now and wrap things up looking at our top 50 steel coaster list? Andy, there's going to be a few new players in the 32 through 50 range that we've never talked about in the Thrilling 32 before.
Or maybe ever.
Or ever. That's right. So let's take a look at the first group here. At number 50 is Monster from Adventureland. So it was in the top 50 last year. Too low for me. Another
I'm
ride.
going to say that a few times here.
I think there's quite a few rides that we're going to be saying too low. Monster certainly one of them at number 50. Number 49, another ride too low.
Say it again, Danny.
Kumba from Busch Gardens, Tampa, way too low. Andy, number 48, way too low. Apollo's Chariot.
Way too high. Yeah, that's way too high.
48 is Apollo's Chariot from Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. Number 47, Railblazer from California's Great America, in roughly the same spot that we saw the single rails last year.
And that's the questionable thing, because Wonder Woman was so much higher.
Yeah, Wonder Woman was in the Thrilling 32 this year, where it was.
That's weird.
Yeah, the discrepancy there is very odd. Number 46, we see a ride that was in the Thrilling 32 last year, Asian Aika, the 4D coaster from Fuji-Q Highland in Japan. Number 45, we see Diamondback from Kings Island drop all the way out there, too low. Another ride that I would say is a little bit too low here at number 44 is Joker from Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. For you, that probably seems roughly correct. Is that a fair statement?
Me personally, I think that's right where that should be.
Yeah, it's a little low for me, but I don't think it's.
I don't know my exact number, but I feel like that's right around where I have.
Yeah. Number 43 is Osiris, the B&M inverted coaster from Parc Astrix in France. Number 42, a ride from Hansa Park, and not the ride from Hansa Park we would have expected to see here. Flug von Novgorod, the launched Eurofighter. Notch for Diskernen. Now, that may be a result of it being closed during our trip, and a lot of people didn't get to ride it who voted in this. That may be an effect there, but just goes to show you that Flug von Novgorod is a solid ride there. And number 41, Twisted Cyclone from Six Flags Over Georgia, a Thrilling 32 ride last year.
Once again, showing us first year usually higher.
Yeah. And coming up as we get into the next group here, another ride that may be just a little bit high because of the first year, Hagrid's Motorbike, Magical Creatures, whatever the hell it's called. Number 40, this one more than any other ride in the two top 50s puzzled me, because number one, I don't know many people who have ridden it. And number 2, I don't recall seeing it very high in a lot of people's rankings, but here it is at number 40.
Yeah,
so maybe
and then there it appears. Magic, Danny. It's magic.
Magic Wheels, perhaps.
Magic, Danny.
Number 39 is Time Traveler from Silver Dollar City, a ride that was in last year, sliding out a little bit. Number 38, Luck Coaster.
Really?
Yeah, how about that?
Now that is something to me. That Luck Coaster's in here. And other Polish coasters may or may not be.
Yeah, so the fact that we're not seeing some rides from Poland in here, the big one that everyone's going to ask is, where's Hyperion?
Yeah.
Well, pretty clearly, the rides in Poland are getting enough riders to be ranked. So where is Hyperion?
Well, people must not think it's a top 50 ride, I guess.
Well, Andy, I'll tell you this. I remember putting in the ballots. Quite a few people had ridden Hyperion, and quite a few people not ranking it high at all.
Yeah.
A lot of people with not good things to say about Hyperion, and a lot of people.
Well, maybe only Intamin fanboys like that one. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know, but
because they've been bitching about B&M coasters for so long, and they finally got an Intamin that looks like a B&M. So
yeah, ain't that the truth? Number 37 is New Texas Giant from Six Flags Over Texas, a ride that has been in the Thrilling 32 for quite some time, falling out this year. Number 36, Bluefire Mega Coaster, falling out at the Thrilling 32 as well. That's a ride that's historically been in before. 36 is probably, after riding it, I would say is probably a more correct ranking, if you will, for that ride. I'm not sure that Bluefire is a top 32 ride at this stage in the game. Number 35, Montu from Busch Gardens Tampa. Number 34, Black Mamba from Fantasialand. Number 33, the first ride out this year, this was a surprise to me, Colossus, the 10 inversion coaster at Thorpe Park in the UK. Now, I will say, I was surprised to see it here, but Colossus, fantastic ride. I think deserving of at least being in the top 50 for sure. Little surprised it's this high, but a very, very strong ride.
Yeah.
The first ride in, or the last ride in, I guess, is the Ultimate from Lightwater Valley, or a ride that we've talked about quite a bit in the context of the Thrilling 32. And then here we see the other single rail here, Wonder Woman Golden Lasso Coaster at number 31. So I think this bodes well for a ride like the Jersey Devil opening up here in 2020.
Well, you would think so. It's a bigger, better version. It's more unique for sure. It looks like it's got a lot of the same thrills in it. So I think Jersey Devil might. And now unless load times and lines get really long and piss people off, then maybe that changes. But I would assume Jersey Devil might make a run here next year.
No, I think that's a very valid point, for sure. And Andy, there's 2 Ace events and a Coaster Crew event at Great Adventure this year. So I will hopefully ride Jersey Devil at least once.
Hopefully. You never know with those RMCs. Or Six Flags.
Well, yeah, that's true. What do you say we move on here? Number 30, we see Olympia Looping from wherever you've ridden it coming in. The first traveling ride.
Not Cedar Point, though. Not
Cedar Point, unfortunately. But Olympia Looping, the first ever traveling ride to be in the Thrilling 32, coming in at number 30. Number 29 is Cannibal from Lagoon, just hanging right in there, just finding its way into a spot. Number 28, I think this is a ride you'll say is too low. Goliath from Six Flags Over Georgia. How about number 27, a ride that I will say is too low?
I'll probably say that too. Amongst this, looking at just this screen, Goliath and Behemoth should be towards the top of it. Like, there are not many rides on this list right here that I think are better than Behemoth and Goliath.
Yeah, and at number 26, Silver Star from Europa Park. And that's actually.
And I know the screen's up, but you can just imagine me rolling my eyes just there. So just imagine me right now rolling my eyes. That's what I just did.
Yeah, that's exactly what you just did. I saw it. I will vouch for him. That's right about where I actually ended up ranking it. But anyways, moving on. Number 25, Superman the Ride from Six Flags New England, a ride that is just slowly continuing.
Which now don't get me wrong, Danny. I completely agree with this trend. But I'm actually a little surprised at how low that is. I'm not a Bizarro fan, Superman fan, not a fan at all. And I'm still a little surprised.
Yeah, I'll tell
People
you
are
what.
coming to their senses, Danny Miller.
And you know, in a couple spots above it is a ride that has surpassed it from the same park. Number 24 is Phantom's Revenge from Kennywood. To me, I would say that that's maybe just a tad low. Phantom's Revenge is quite a fine ride. The night rides on Phantom's Revenge are absolutely out of this world. I can tell you that for sure. Number 23, Wicked Cyclone from Six Flags New England. Both of the New England rides here in the 20s. Number 22, Mako from SeaWorld Orlando. Just, you know, standing strong, Mako, right? I think this bodes well for a ride like Candemonium, if I can say so myself, because I think Candemonium looks very, very similar to a ride like Mako. And Andy, I don't know if they're planning on putting it in, but track work is complete. I was out in Hershey a couple weeks ago for a hockey game. I don't see any trim brakes on that ride either.
Oh, well.
Which is very interesting. I don't see any trim. Now, maybe they're going to be put on, but I don't see any trim brakes on that ride right now. And it's got a speed hill.
Well, I'll tell you what. The one thing that hurts Mako are all the trims that they put on it. I've never had that mysterious untrimmed ride on Mako. I don't believe I've had one. So if they don't trim it, then I think there's a very real possibility that Candemonium's a better ride.
Candemonium, no trim brake, and also no mid-course brake run on Candemonium, if I remember correctly. So certainly two possible improvement points over a ride like Mako.
Yeah.
And at number 21, Nemesis from Alton Towers in the UK. One of my buddies there coming in at number 21. How about this? At number 20, it's iSpeed from Mirabilandia in Italy. So iSpeed actually did very well in the ranking, but bad first-round matchup there against a ride like Terran. In the first round, being knocked out. Number 19, Smiler from Alton Towers as well. Smiler dropping down a little bit, and that is, you know, the losing to Millennium Force in the first round. They're indicative of Smiler dropping off just a little bit. Number 18, we see Goliath, the Intamin Hypercoaster from Walibi Holland, a ride that has been in the Thrilling 32 before, but obviously a little bit of an uptick here, resultant of our trip, I'm sure. Another ride from our trip, number 17, Fleur de Démon from Haida Park, coming in very, very strong here at number 17. Number 16 is where we find Sky Rush from Hershey Park, and that's one of those rides. Again, it's just you never know where it's going to end up. It might be the top 10. It might be in the 30s, and this year it's right in the middle.
Yeah, I still think it's way too low for Sky Rush, but I get it. I get people's complaints about it. I understand.
Number 15 is where we find Millennium Force from Cedar Point. You know, there's at least a couple rides from Cedar Point ranked higher than Millennium Force, for sure. You got at least two there. Number 14, Twisted Colossus from Six Flags Magic Mountain, dropping down quite a bit this year.
Yeah, and now we're getting to where it probably should be discussed.
Yeah, I think it should. I
still think it's a little high.
I think it's still a little bit high, but it's certainly not a top 10 ride in my opinion. No. And finally, it is not the highest ranked ride in our poll from Six Flags Magic Mountain, which it has been for a number of years, and I don't think that is correct. That ride's coming up in a minute. Leviathan from Canada's Wonderland at number 13, a little bit of a rise for Leviathan this year, so that's good to see, staying in strong. Number 12, a ride that you and I actually, with the European rides, this is right about where I have it. I know you're going to say it's a little bit too low. X2 for me absolutely should be a top 10 ride, but it comes in at number 12 just outside here. X2, fantastic ride. And number 11, we see Twisted Timbers from King's Dominion. So it was number 5 last year.
Any drop off there, yeah.
Yeah, it was number 5 last year, so a little bit of a drop-off to number 11, and that is something that we talked about a couple times. That is something we expected to see this year.
Yeah, it happens. You get the hardcore people riding it year one, maybe overranking it, and then it's kind of settling into a spot in years 2, 3, and so on and so forth. I'll tell you what. Champions in the steel side. Champions do not when they become not champion anymore, they tend to disappear. You look at Leviathan, former champ, down to 13. You look at Bizarro down at number whatever it was, 20.
Yeah, 25.
Champions, you talk about fall from graces. You don't really see that on the wood side. Boulder Dash still up there. Outlaw Run obviously making a resurgence. Champions on the steel side, once people throw them out, they're gone forever, man. I'll tell you what.
Well, and I think that's indicative of just all the new types of rides and new styles of rides that we're getting, and really, I think it's partially the RMC boom, right? When Skyrush and Leviathan were built in 2012, I think both of those rides were legitimate top 10 roller coasters. But we've had rides like Steel Vengeance, Iron Rattler, Wicked Cyclone, Twisted Colossus. We've Untamed. We've had all these rides built, rides like Terran coming in as well. We've had so many rides that are just so good, Twisted Timbers even. We've had all these rides that have been built in the last 6 to 8 years. I don't think Skyrush is a top 10 ride anymore. I don't think Leviathan is a top 10 ride anymore. I still think they're worthy of being in the Thrilling 32 here, but it just goes to show you that, especially with the steel coasters, sometimes the new fad is the new fad, and that seems to hold true here. Andy, we've got our top 10 now, and there's a couple rides we're still waiting to see. At number 10, we see Iron Rattler from Six Flags Fiesta, Texas. Iron Rattler is that ride that we don't really get to see it in the Final Four ever, but boy, Iron Rattler is just consistent as can be.
Yeah, Iron Rattler just hangs on. I think rightfully so. But it just seems to always be there in the discussion. And whereas other early RMCs like New Texas Giant, early rides like Bizarro and maybe Leviathan, Iron Rattler has hung on. Despite what you just said, all these new rides being invented, Iron Rattler still playing games.
Yeah, I mean, it's right there and certainly worthy of a top 10 spot. How about this at number 9, Shambala from Port Aventura? This is a ride that someone in the comments of last week's show said that they really thought that Shambala would do very, very well if it had more riders. I don't think it needs more riders. It's here at number 9.
Where was it last year, if you mind?
Shambala, this is the first year that it's actually had enough riders to be ranked really high. It hasn't been Thrilling 32 before. I think it was in the 30s last year.
Okay, so ridership, well, okay, I got you. So that makes sense then.
Yeah, no, definitely. At number 8 is where we see Intimidator 305 here. Now, Intimidator 305, if I look at the stats from last year, Intimidator 305 was actually number 9 last year. So Intimidator 305 actually went up a spot this year, despite being surpassed, despite being beaten here in the first round by our eventual number 2. Number 7, Maverick from correct. Cedar Point?
Well, no, not correct, because I see number 6.
Yeah, well, and number 6, Terran from Fantasialand. Personally, I would have the two flip-flopped.
Yeah, I love that Maverick's moving up in the world. I do. Where was Maverick last year? Has it stagnated here? Has it moved up?
Let's look at Maverick. Maverick last year was number 8.
Okay, so slow but steady climb.
Yep, it's getting there, and let's see where it was in 2017. Maverick was number 6.
Oh, so.
And then in 2016, Maverick was actually number 4, and Millennium Force was number 5. Now that was 2016. We didn't have enough riders with Terran or Helix yet. We didn't have Untamed. So that's sort of what's been going on there.
Things bopping around Maverick.
Yeah, if you sort of account for those rides coming in, that's sort of why we see Maverick here in this range now. So Maverick number 7, Terran number 6, Helix number 5. Helix hanging in strong. That is, Terran was the ride that we were always skeptical of, and now that I've ridden Terran, and I think it's deserving of a top 10 spot here. I really want to go ride Helix and see if Helix lives up to the hype too. Because obviously our voters like it quite a bit, so I want to see what Helix is all about too. Looks like some comparisons that can be made to those other two. And then looking at the top four really doesn't change from last year, from last year's top three, except we've thrown Untamed into the mix. So number 4, we have Expedition G-Force. From Holiday Park, number 3, we've got Fury 325 from Carowinds. Number 2, we've got Untamed from Wally B. Holland. And, of course, our champion at number 1 from Cedar Point, Steel Vengeance.
Well, yeah, you look at that top 10 there, and that's quite the top 10. You got a few B&Ms, a few Intamins, a little Mac magic in there as well, some RMC, obviously. So a nice smattering across the board of manufacturers. I tell you what, I'm looking at that list, and you're talking about the best rides in the world right there. Whereas I can't really say the same for maybe the Wood list. These I don't think you can make a case.
I can't speak to Shambala because I haven't ridden it, and I can't speak to Helix. But those other 8 right there, there's some damn good rides.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. There's there are some damn good rides on that list there. That's a list, Danny Miller.
Now that's a list.
Now that's a list.
Oh boy, Andy, what a year. What a year for the Thrilling 32. We didn't have the big rides opening in 2019 in the States here, but we had one big one in Europe that really crashed the party here in Untamed and almost pulled off the unthinkable. But we had some great brackets. There were some, even though so many people did very, very well in the contest, we still had some of those really good matchups that were a lot of fun to talk about. A lot of people pulling their hair out, and one of our closest friends pulling his hair out because as he sees the top 50 here, he sees what a grave mistake he made that cost him a chance at the championship. Oh boy, we're not done. We're not done.
Oh, so far away.
We're not done. Next week, we've got the second annual Thrilling 32 Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We will induct another ride into the Thrilling 32 Hall of Fame as chosen by us. Last year we inducted Dueling Dragons, so this year we will.
Danny, by the Thrilling 32 Foundation. Come on.
The Thrilling 32 Foundation, of course.
Come on.
Right. That's right. Certainly comment below on your thoughts on the rankings. This is certainly something that, again, we will be referencing throughout the year when we talk about these rides and news stories and talk about taking trips and visiting parks. Something that we will reference for many, many shows to come. And we thank you guys so much for supporting this each and every year. So many new viewers, new voters, new people taking part in the contest every year. This is our favorite thing to do throughout the season, to do this really for what's essentially 2 months between the selection show and then the results show here. It's a lot of fun. We have people who send us messages, emails talking about this, talk about it in some of the group chats and the Discord and even on Patreon. So we thank everybody so much for supporting this year after year. And it was another strong year, and I already can't wait to get going again next year. It's a lot of fun.
Every year it provides us with hours of entertainment. It just keeps getting better. So here's to the next year and forever with the Thrilling 32. We're gonna have some wonderful. We got the prints here. We're gonna have some wonderful new tickets made up for the new champions. Deliver those to the parks. So we got a lot going on here behind the scenes. To make sure that this recognition is seen by a lot of people. So as always, I am Andrew Barchek from Chicago, Illinois.
And I am Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York. Congratulations again to our winners, Voyage, Holiday World, Steel Vengeance, Cedar Point, and of course, our contest winner, Mark Kevin Omler. Congratulations to all.
Right on, Ride Warriors.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.